I'm still a utility baby, basically. You know, I was made during the war. Child in them days were very easygoing. If you were not at school, you went out in the morning and you came back when you was hungry. And it was normally about 4 o'clock. And mum and dad didn't have to worry where you was up the fields playing and what have you. But the best memories I ever had of childhood was being from about 13 or so. I used to go and help out on the farm. And it was in the days when they had 1 tractor and 2 horses. And that was, looking back, it was really, really good fun. And I loved it and I wanted to be a farmer. Because there was not really a lot of chance of being a farmer if you wasn't born into it in them days. I went in the building trade when I left school at 15 instead. In the mid-60s, my brother came one night. He said, we're going to a concert in Derby. Do you want to come with us? What sort of concert is it, David? And he said, oh, it's a folk concert. I said, oh, that sounds all right. I've never been to one of them. So off I went. And I was just smitten. It just grabbed me. It was the Spinners, and it was Derby's Lonesome Travellers, and a lady called, I think her name was Alice Branham, I'm not quite sure. And another guy who had just won a competition up at Buxton. They'd had a competition that weekend, and he won the traditional song competition. And he won it, and he only sang one song, and he got up and sang this song, and it was The Leaf, What's the Life of a Man? And I've loved that song ever since, and sang it myself many's the time. That was lovely. I was just smitten, and a couple of days later, I went up to our local music shop and spent my £3.50 on a ukulele. And my first instrument was the ukulele, plunked away, learnt a few chords, wanted to graduate onto guitar, of course. I think I went on banjo a little bit first, but I didn't do very well on that. I went on to guitar, and you know, because you needed to play guitar in them days. But recently, because of my other fingers don't work so well anymore, I've gone back to ukulele, and it's lovely. I really enjoy it. We got together after a while, my brother-in-law and myself and Andy Train, we got together and started singing a few songs out of a few books that we'd found. There was mainly American books and Irish books, them sort of songs. Dubliners were big at the time, and Spinners, of course. They were the 2 big folk groups, and there was very few professionals on the scene at that time. And we got this little group together. We must have been terrible, actually, but we saw an advert in the Rippling Inner News that Tams had put in, John Tams, folk singers wanted. They'd had a club at Alfreton, and of course we went and visited it all the time until we opened our own folk club in Ripley. Late 60s, I suppose. But Ripley Folk Club reigned for many years, many years, and it was probably one of the biggest folk clubs in the country. We had massive names looking back, you know, people like Barbara Dixon and Jasper Carrot and Mike Hardy and all them, so Furious. Anybody who was anybody played Ripley Folk Club. Because we could afford it, because it was always a full house, so you got a bit of money. It wasn't ardent folkies, they just liked the music. And it was wonderful, actually. Always Silly Wizard wanted big bands used to come, and McAlmonds and people like that. Fabulous, and it was always a good night. And then when Ripley Wafers went on road for a few years, my brother took the club over and he ran the club. 5 albums made in a weekend, most of them. He went on Saturday morning and it was finished on Sunday night. In them days, you just sang and recorded it and that was it. There was no finesse, you know, and people didn't demand high quality recordings, particularly at that time. Nowadays, you've got the tattle to do it, and to get really good recordings, you can do lots of nice things. Wayfarers sort of got to end of the time, and I fancied something different. Doing something, I wanted to play in a band that had got bass and drums and keyboards and that sort of thing in, something a little bit more, if you like, modern. Barry Renshaw and I, he was sort of a lead singer. We sort of asked who we wanted to ask, and we asked John Squire, who came in on fiddle. And we asked Barry, who played keyboards, and Lester played melodeon. It was a hell of a nice band to play in, Rogues Gallery was. And we did some different stuff, some different things, having a look at some different songs and how we did them. If you played as a Cayley band as well, you had better chance of getting more bookings, and we did. We got loads of bookings. Yeah, we did one or two things. We got the Ceilidh band on Peat practice, and it was on a farm up at Aldous Lee. And it was hellishly cold in the middle of winter time. They were doing the Ceilidh like as if it were in summertime. And we was there all day recording and what have you, and we got some friends to come and dance and things like that. And it was good fun doing it. I did quite a few Peat practices, walk-ons and things like that, and they was fun. I've been lucky to do quite a few things. I mean, I was at a courtier in Elizabeth. Me and Kate Blanchett did it, we like that. The highlight of doing anything on stage or on television or in film, for me, was doing the mystery plays at Crucible when I was part of the band. Barry was MD for it, and Tams were doing the music, and Rose Gallery played the mysteries for 3 weeks, and I could have still been there now. It was really, really nice to do. I taught Albert Finney and Sue Johnson how to do Gay Gordon, but Albert Finney was a drink on a stick, that man. It really was. We was in between doing things, and I don't know how to dance, Mick. I said, well, don't worry, Albert, let's have 10 minutes round back and we'll do it. So we went in another room and learnt it, and that was fine. And I got talking to him, and he says, I stood there, and he says, sit down, lad. So I sat down, and we got talking. I said, you know, Albert, I said, I've never forgot you in Saturday night and Sunday morning when I was a 15-year-old. So we snuck in pictures at Ripley Empire, down the coal hole, up through the gents, and sat on front row where nobody could see you. And watched Saturday night and Sunday morning. I said, and there it was. We thought it was wonderful. I said, I was so envious. I said, because you were drinking oak beer, you were smoking oak fags and going out with oak girls, and at 15, that's all I really wanted to do in my life. And it's nice when you can talk to people like that. He was very down to earth, man of the people. He was lovely. They regionalised the programme, so the programmes was going to go out on Derby, Leicester, Lincoln and Nottingham. And you had to put in for it if you wanted to do it. And we put in for it and got it. It was a smashy show to do because you'd always a shed full of lovely CDs that you wanted to play. And it was always so interesting. Oh, to play this one. We gave a diary of Derby, Leicester, Lincoln and Nottingham every week, and it put on the radio the shows that was there to go to, the concerts and the folk clubs, and people went from that, which was very rewarding. What we found out when the show was axed by the BBC, after 26 and a half years of doing folk music on air, it wasn't just the folkies that listened to the show. We had people writing in who didn't go to anything, didn't go to a folk concert, anything like that, but they listened to the show and liked the music, and that amazed me actually. And it's such a shame it's not there any longer. I remember the first Feast of Folk was at Assembly was here in Derby. It was a 4-up concert and the tickets were £1. And the BBC had put the money up for that, and hopefully they got the money back. I'm pretty sure they did. And it was full. 4 top acts off the folk scene. It was wonderful. But that was them days. You know, it'd be a £25 ticket now. It was just an idea. The under-20s, give them a platform to play. And it worked. From the word go, it worked. And we produced some absolutely fabulous young musicians and encouraged them. The best known one, of course, is Sam Sweeney. Sam Sweeney was a 12-year-old who came on, played his little fiddle, half 3/4 size fiddle, and stood on stage on his own, knee high to a grasshopper, and played away. And behind me stood the band that had just been on prior, and they was from Matlock. They got a teacher who taught them up there who was brilliant with them, and there was a hellishly good band, this young 4-piece band, and they stood behind me. I was sat on the side, and Sam got up and played a couple of tunes, and this lad behind me said, well, that's first prize gone, isn't it? And he was dead chuffed for it, because the lad deserved it, and look what he's gone on to do. Yeah. He's one of the most sought-after fiddle players on the folk scene. And then there was lots, Miranda Sykes, Bella Hardy, yeah. Anna James, Anna's doing very well. And lots of other musicians that still play on the folk scene, and that's great. And if you can encourage them sort of thing. We've encouraged young musicians with the Derbyshire Volunteers. The recruits have had some nice young musicians, and it's nice, and they love our company, older generation. It's a pleasure to do. It's a pleasure to be part of. I don't know what I would have done in my life if it hadn't been for music. I'm not a great musician. I've never professed to be a great musician. I wished I was, but I've enjoyed every moment of it. What I lack in quality, I make up for in enthusiasm. I think that's what it is. And I've enjoyed every moment that I've been on the folk scene. It's an idea that four of us got together, the John Tams, Barry, Coope here, of course, Peat Bullock and myself, to encourage music and the arts in Derbyshire, basically, because it lacks a bit of encouragement from time to time. We've got some nice ideas. Unfortunately, we've met hard times at the moment, but it's just coming together. We're putting things together, and you will be hearing a lot about Drystone over the coming months. Lots of really nice things that we've got planned. When we can do them, we will. And it's not just music, it's theatre and the arts, you know. Doing our concerts like what we've done over the years, Sheila and I, as PR promotions, I'm retiring from doing that. And I'm retiring from being co-director of Derby Folk Festival. I should be around, I should be at things. I can't walk away from the music. I don't know anybody can. I've enjoyed every moment that I've been involved, and I'm involved with the folk scene. It's everything. It's the people, it's the music, it's the way of life.